We work largely with Fortune 1000 types of brands. We steward closer to like a 1.5 billion of media spend a year for our clients.
We have a really great guest today, John Morgenstern from VaynerMedia, JMO, as he's called.
Yeah, head of investment. And investment is just a fancier term for media buying execution. Meta, TikTok, Google, YouTube are like our dominant partners. But these days, CTV, Amazon, all things retail media, digital audio, like you name it.
We're just three D2C nerds here. But I'm so curious, like how many parallels there are like at the brand sizes that you're working with and how different the game is.
Fortune 500 land can never be as like bold and like nimble. And that's like the competitive advantage that all of you guys have. But then there's a whole like brand side of the equation where you're as big as an Oreo. Your limiting factor is like the perception of cocoa itself. Because when you're the category leader, you need to grow the category. MMM will be a necessary evil.
I don't know that we would succeed on TikTok Shop because we're slightly higher price point and we don't run discounts.
Show me a higher price point brand that didn't have to like sacrifice their brand. There's a really high correlation between affiliate volume and Amazon.
All right, welcome to episode 86 of Marketing Operators Podcast. Can't believe we made it this long. Today's a fun one. They're all fun. Today's an especially fun one. Connor's launching Black Friday sale tomorrow. We're launching holiday, so we're all geared up to that. I have a Celsius here. I don't know about you guys. Connor's drinking some coffee because it's that time of year. But we got a fun one. We have a really great guest today, John Morgenstern from VaynerMedia, JMO, as he's called. Excited to get into it. But before we do that, I want to thank our sponsors. We've got Motion, Richpanel, Prescient, Aftersell, and Rivo. We can't do the show without them. Please check them out for all of your software needs. Let's get into it.
So I don't know about you guys, but we are fully locked in on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and holiday sale at HexClad. Motion is, as always, a very big part of this. We do a ton of just iterations on evergreen ads with like Black Friday sale banners. So we're just taking literally our top performing ads from the entire year, slapping a banner on them. And that's at least one part of our content stack for BFCM. So easy just to use Motion to look at like last 90, last 6 months, year to date, which ads are getting us the best efficiency, which ads are getting us the best scale. It's like a really quick and easy way to pull that report in Motion and then come up with just a bunch of overlays onto your evergreen ads. That's one way we're using Motion as we head into the peak season for us. The other way we're using it is for more like instantaneous feedback. So we're saying, hey, we did that, but we also shot and produced all these seasonal ads. So which ones are performing best? And then we'll iterate on those like during BFCM. So all of this is getting powered by Motion reports. It's just the quickest, the easiest way to see what's working, what's not. Connor, how are you guys using Motion at Ridge to inform your Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and holiday ad decisions?
We're in a similar headspace. We did an exercise that I was calling a bottoms-up planning this year, where we granularly looked at what worked at what times throughout, late October, November, December last year. That all comes from analyzing our creative. So we got that foundational approach of what are the things we want to be prioritizing? And then we can get into the fact of what are the new things that we want to be trying this year? And Motion really kind of led point on a lot of that analysis.
Cody, how about you?
Yeah, same thing. Like we'll have everybody propose their strategy and their plan, but like there should be no reason to start from scratch. Like there's no, blank page. I think you got to hit that like 80-20 of explore and exploit. But I think for exploiting, like you got to look at what's performed well. And, we try to have a lot of warm up points. Like we will have like a holiday kits launch soon. We have Labor Day. We have last Black Friday. So we just build a report of all of them. We just see what traits perform well, anything that you can filter by name and convention. So we don't have to start with a blank screen. And then we're able to just get more pinpointed in our strategy, hopefully each launch.
And lastly, one thing I really, really appreciate about Motion is you don't need to like be this expert in how to use the tool. Like they're very good at getting you onboarded, getting your data ingested and connected, and then training you on exactly how to use the tool. So if you've been dragging your feet, it's time to get going with Motion. Head over to motionapp.com.
All right, what's up, JMO? John Morgenstern, aka JMO from Vayner. Super excited to have you on, dude.
Yeah, it's been fun just sliding into each other's X DMs these past like 2+ years. I forget how it even started. I feel like Tyler Schmidt's involved.
Yeah, I went to high school with Ty. And then so we know Gary a little bit and stuff like that. And then
awesome.
You just pop up all over my TikTok. I feel like you're more of a lurker on X, but some really good TikTok content about media buying.
Yeah, TikTok. I mean, Gary always preaches like channel diversification. All my eggs are in the TikTok basket. So I need to do something about that.
JMO, can you describe your title quickly? I think you have the coolest title I've heard in a really long time.
Oh, thank you. Ostensibly my title at VaynerMedia is head of investment. Investment being synonymous with media buying, media activation, paid media. We work largely with Fortune 1000 types of brands. We're based in New York. We have a few satellite offices globally. So I would say like 10% of the spend under our management, touches on EMEA, APAC, LATAM, all that. But as head of investment, we steward closer to like a 1.5 billion of media spend a year for our clients. Obviously, Gary Vaynerchuk being our founder CEO, we attract a lot of clients looking to like double down in social and like kind of modern digital more than your average bear. So, Meta, TikTok, Google, YouTube are like our dominant partners. But these days, CTV, Amazon, all things retail media, digital audio, like you name it, is kind of involved in the mix. And we love our self-serve biddable platforms versus, IO jockeying. But yeah, I lead the media buying discipline. We have about 250 media buyers across offices, like grinding it out for clients.
I love it. So I think there's a lot to dive into there, but let me just call out, I love the rebrand from media buying to investment. It's like, it reminds me of like the Fancy Pooh Bear meme, where it's like, it's like media buyer, and then he's got the tux on with the monocle, and it's like head of investment. And it's like, I'm so here for it.
Yeah, change CMO to chief investment officer for you, Connor?
Totally. Yeah, I feel like I should get a raise with that.
Yeah, a lot of the holdco agencies have a CIO, but that really is about like principal buying and like basically, pre-buying huge chunks of media and like arbitraging it with clients. With all this media buyers dead memes, it's like, all right, I'm investment. So
we're strong. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, we'll wear suits. It feels like we should be on margin call or something.
Yes.
That's great. All right. I'm so curious because obviously we're just three D2C nerds here, and I know you nerd out about media buying, but I'm so curious like how many parallels there are like at the brand sizes that you're working with, and how different the game is. So really excited to get into it. So what I don't know if you can share any brands, but what kind of brands like help us understand like how to frame the conversation of what you're overseeing. Yeah. What's a Fortune 100?
Yeah. So clients of ours that are like, there's PR, they're out there. Mondelez, shout out Mondelez. They're like very near and dear to us, a very important client. They're the holdco that owns Oreo, Ritz, Triscuit, Swedish Fish, Sour Patch Kids, all that. We attract a lot of CPG for whatever reason. So we have our Mondelez friends, JP Morgan Chase we've worked with for a long time. And our relationships, we're an integrated shop. So we have a whole like creative discipline, of course, and then media where I sit, as well as like analytics and strategy. Most of our clients do some form of both with us, creative and media. But I would say, I think it's about a third are like media only or creative only. Gary's thesis, our thesis is that, the magic really more than ever these days comes from like the flywheel of creative and media and the feedback loop versus just like how much can you do on Meta these days, completely divorced from the media variable. So I say that because like Mondelez, for example, is much more of a media centric client for us versus PepsiCo we work with purely on the creative side. And then there's a lot in the middle. Some other names to help contextualize the conversation, New Era. So like in terms of like D2C and where that's like most relevant, Yeti Coolers is a recent new client of ours. I love that brand. And probably, I mean, like 80 others, but those are some that are top of mind.
All right, cool. That's helpful. So yeah, so some that are a little bit more D2C, but and then some that probably have a pretty big mix of like, I feel like New Era probably has a good split. What about like the CPG? Like what are the goals of investment of media for those? Like obviously we're again D2C brands. We're trying to just grow online sales,
Yes.
And majority of our investment is in purchase stuff and direct performance. Like what are the goals of some of these brands?
I mean, as you can imagine, well, first of all, like so many look to you guys, like the D2C, the challenger brands, like the hyperscalers as like the leading indicator of things to come, and kind of course, red tape, very reasonable, like legal, like risk averse versus risk seeking behavior, like Fortune 500 land can never be as like bold and like nimble, and that's like the competitive advantage that all of you guys have. But it's always fun to try to, map your world to how can we get this through the system of all these, very, very large, compartmentalized places. But so much of the game is, I mean, the joke with Oreos, their target is they're the top selling cookie in the world. People with mouths. Like there's a pack of Oreos in a majority of US households right now. Like it is household pen that like, it's like at the asymptote of household pen. And so, of course, the retail media partner side of the equation, Walmart Connect, Target, Roundel, Amazon, Costco, whether you're doing that through, Walmart Ad Center or through like the Trade Desk partnerships, like there's that whole world of retail digcom, of course, that's more like sales DNA. And then there's, the D2C channels that typically is more like custom, merch, limited edition. Amazon is kind of like the most scaled Death Star of like you're selling meaningful D2C volume and you can do full funnel, throw Prime Video on there and really have fun. But then there's a whole like brand side of the equation where when you're as big as an Oreo, your limiting factor is like the perception of cocoa itself. Like you're in like got milk territory in terms of like what you need, because when you're the category leader, you need to grow the category. And so, how that pertains to, of course, like product mix and innovation and use like health trends and what's going on in snacking, like they have to be very on point there and mapping. But, when you have 99.9% unaided awareness, all these things, it is a different game. But that's like Oreo, which is its own beast. There's a whole lot of others that are more on the come up, more mapping closer to your guys' DNA. But I would say the big difference is just the omnichannel retailer partner management and some of the limitations of, if you jump on TikTok Shop and you opt into their, TikTok funded discounts, where TikTok will just like throw something on sale, like, and they fund it. And this is not like specific to any one client or anything. And then Walmart sees that in the wild where their rollback deal is like, no one ever has a lower price on your product than we have. It's like big trouble. So that's a lot of like the in practice, like what you just have to be very careful on with this omnichannel game. You guys will, I'm sure you're starting to flirt with that territory and you'll definitely feel it more.
I do have a question around this, if I could jump in quickly. I think most of us here, although Cody's starting to talk about this, so I think it probably becomes a bit more of a conversation in 2026. And I would say most people listening to this podcast, we're looking, if we're measuring the impact of anything, it's on like incremental revenue. We're still incredibly direct response oriented. I think as brands get larger, obviously you need to start changing it. And you bring up things like measuring awareness. So I'm curious, there's a large spectrum between Ridge, who's really, we ran a handful of brand lift studies in the past, but we're almost always just trying to generate incremental revenue in whatever time frame we're looking at. Versus Oreo, which is 99.9% unaided awareness. What does that look like? Like maybe you could give Ridge advice here. Like what should we start looking at so that we could start moving away from direct response and more into growing brand or category awareness?
Yeah. I mean, look, like it is always important to like hold things to account with downstream sales incrementality. And across the board. This is like, agnostic to Mondelez. Conversion lift or, House is a important partner of ours in terms of running, like bundled channel incrementality experiments. Like we really preach that regardless of size. We think that some mass advertisers think too much about like just net reach and frequency and like mass reach. And then there's always some form of media mix model, MMM, that tries to, regression based, backwards looking, time the ROIs. But we think that as with all things, the truth is somewhere in the middle of like, you will need some form of MMM, ideally causal MMM, like which House is playing around with more of. Yes, it's backwards looking, but you're not waiting 2 quarters. I don't know how much you guys like, play in the like media mix model realm, but often it's like glacial in terms of getting the reads. It might say how things in the past did, but if you're doing a totally brand new social strategy, it's like irrelevant, a lot of that data, because it's backwards looking. But when you're on linear, when you're on legacy media, like it's the lowest common denominator. And there's a lot of innovation happening to like do it better, more agile, causal, infusing loads of incrementality studies, brand lift, sales lift into it, to back into channel ROI. So MMM will be a necessary evil. But I would say there's always some longitudinal brand tracker in place, like a YouGov or a morning consult. That's just like one of the things on your odometer, not tied to ads per se, just like your overall, paneling surveying consumers, what you're seeing.
And that's just general trends of just as the business goes and evolves.
Exactly.
Like how your awareness, how you're not really measuring like an incremental lift. So I remember like right around Christmas time when most people normal people were like off, taking their time, chilling with family. I was like looking through our P&L, our budget for next year, and I was like, how are we going to save money? And one of the things I did is I leaned on a lot of our partners, and I remember slacking a meet from Richpanel, and I was like, what can you do? How can you help us? We had just switched to Richpanel a few months before, went really well. And I told him jokingly, by the way, I want to throw it out there jokingly, that if he could help cut about $500K from our customer service costs, I'd get a Richpanel tattoo. Well, we did that. You've probably seen a tweet. He did some AI thing of me with a neck tattoo. I'm not going to do it. Sorry, Amit, but I will talk about how much I love Richpanel, how much Amit has helped us. So we had 18 support agents before. It was a lot, and it just was not scalable. We had so many people. We had this like old legacy software. It was slow, it was broken, it was expensive, and it just took too many people to operate. So we not only made the switch, but Amit and his team really helped us. Now we have 8 people and we have a much better CSAT score. Our numbers are way better. Our response times are way quicker. We're leveraging a lot of automation, a lot of AI, but again, it has not hurt customer experience. We track and I get a weekly report of our CSAT, of all of our stuff, of our NPS, and it's going up because we're actually able to get back to people, give people better answers. The automation learns from our best agents, so it just continually is getting better. We switched to Richpanel about 2 weeks before Black Friday. Might be a crazy thing to do, but it was super easy. We came out of Black Friday for the first time in 3 years with no ticket backlog. The software and support has blown us away. I highly recommend you switch. If you do it and they save you a lot of money, you should probably get a tattoo, but it's not something my wife would let me get away with. But yeah, if you're running an e-commerce brand, I highly recommend you switch to Richpanel. You'll be able to leverage their software, save money on software costs, which is great, while saving a significant amount of money on personnel costs. So if you want to go into Q4 with a leaner, smarter support setup and come out of there without this crazy ticket backlog and just make your CX team happier, go to richpanel.com/demo. Tell them Cody from Marketing Operators sent you and tell them you're ready to get a tattoo. Are you also measuring, like, again, we work with House, so we work with a lot of, incremental revenue, incremental acquisition.
Yes.
Are you also running a lot of like brand lift, and whether that's in platform and meta, which we've done, like power lift, brand lift, or is that something you do with a third party as well? And is that like the main media buying objective for something like an Oreo? Is like, are you actually impacting awareness or consideration?
Yeah. I mean, it's always tricky with like the media KPI primary objective and like what you're bidding on. I mean, you can bid on ad recall on Meta, but like that's not particularly interesting. Like, I think there's a really interesting territory here of like TikTok has a consideration bid objective that's, of course, always kind of opaque and black boxy, but things that, because these platforms have run loads and loads and loads of BLS, and they can start to get at, just like they can see conversion likelihood, it's like likelihood of consideration lift according to their native studies. So I think that's like white space. I wish we were further along there. But the way we typically think about it is there will be a 3P brand lift partner. Again, just because as much as Meta, like who I view as just best in class in terms of the tooling they offering, not that they're perfect. But when you're dealing with iHeart, you're going to have to work with Kantar or, Newstar for, a brand lift. So like not everyone has native. And then certainly if you want to look at how social plus TV does from a brand lift perspective versus each in isolation, that's where a Kantar or other 3P can add value. So we think about like 3P cross channel and like channel bundle and channel level, like brand lift source of truth. And then we use platform BLS for intra channel. So like creator UGC versus brand produced content, like all of the like experiments intra channel, like snap commercials, sponsored stuff, like audience slices, creative vectors, you name it, right? Like multi-cell being the game. And so you have like, Kantar for the breadth, you have platform BLS, at least on all social, Google, for the depth. And then of course, like throw in conversion lift, same deal there, throw in like search lift. Google's doing some interesting stuff around like search, like incremental brand searches, not just as a study, but like an in-platform metric. So that too. But this is where it gets tricky, where there's also like the individualized incremental lift studies with an Amazon, with a Walmart. So it's like you can have both total business incrementality. The same principle applies with each partner that are each on their own journey, in retailers wise.
Are you then, so I'm looking at Oreo's website though, and like they're clearly investing a lot here. Like there's a big, beautiful, like seasonally branded hero section, a bunch of new flavors like cranberry sauce, caramel apple, creamed corn. That's awesome. So are you actually running, because you said there's like the Walmart, like the retail media side, and then there's like your, Meta, YouTube, TikTok that we all spend a lot of dollars on. So I imagine there's probably a variety of like objectives going on inside of like the Meta, the YouTube, but like, are you guys running like a lot of purchase conversion campaigns?
Yeah. So there is a D2C, and like there's media supporting Shop Oreo and what you're looking at right now. And it ebbs and flows. Like sometimes it gets bumped in priority, like 1P data strategy and this and that. But usually it's a much more nominal number. And much more of a surprise and delight, like like birthday gifting. It's like a decent size little business. So like, yes, there's media supporting it. It would look a lot more like your guys' stock and trade. Yeah, but it's the reality of the scale is just like it's always so tough. It's an innovator's dilemma thing, which is like TikTok Shop's another example. It's like how many people are buying cans of Coke on TikTok Shop right now. And it's like, okay, very few. Is that worth Coke's while? No, but like tomorrow, the velocity is going up exponentially. Yeah. Like, how do you balance those things? And that we have our opinions, but that more so tends to be the brand's call top down of where they're placing their bets. And there's a lot of, relationship dynamics with all the channel partners, retail partners. There's JBPs usually with all of them that commits you're trying to hit. Now there's things like AWS, Google Cloud elements of these, JBPs are like joint business partnerships where like you commit a huge number to Meta or Google or TikTok globally, and you get, benefits above and beyond the everyday, not just like access to a human that you have to spend a shocking amount of ad dollars to even get these days on some of these channels. So there's a lot of stakeholders.
I'm on the Oreo website now. I never thought I would say this because I'm surprised they even ship online. They have a sick bundle builder UX. Like I'm saving this for inspo.
Oreo knows what they're
I did
doing.
not expect to see that.
And this is like, one priority of like so many things. What I think Oreo does really well is the collabs. So a few years back, they've done like Stranger Things Oreos, Pokemon Oreos, Game of Thrones, and like they can stamp their supply chain, and like they can stamp anything they want on an Oreo. Like their ability to make really custom things is amazing. But they did Pokemon Oreo collab, and that goes across retail. And those drops are a meaningful like incremental driver even for them atop like their base machine.
It's such brilliant product-led marketing. Like every time I go to like a Safeway or a King Soopers, I'm not always buying Oreos, but I'm always going to the cookie section and seeing what the heck Oreo has in their new flavors. Like I tried their like apple pie a la mode the other day, and it rocked my world. It was so good. I'm always excited to see what they got going on.
I love all the love going to Oreo. We're meeting with them later today.
We've seen it's this might be an interesting parallel, but I'm laughing because I'm going to compare Ridge wallets to Oreos, and it's like multiple orders of magnitude different in terms of scale. But we talk about this all the time at Ridge, where we've sold 10 million wallets at this point. We have pretty good brand awareness at this point. The best thing we can possibly do is just new colors, new styles, new collabs. And that's not even to necessarily drive incremental revenue in those collabs, but it's just to refresh the entire product line.
Yes.
And we're promoting Hyperline, which we're launching next week, and we're going to sell more gunmetal and black wallets because of that.
Yes, totally makes sense. And Gary is a master at this of like, there's like, what is this about and what is this really about sorts of things, which is like, how can you have marketing tactics that like actually accomplish 2, 3, 4 things at once? Meaning, okay, you drop you do what you just described. Sure, that might sell some net new of the thing you're doing, but it halos onto this other thing. It gets some partner excited about, giving you like co-op dollars to co-market.
Totally.
Like, a lot of these days is things like YouTube strategy and organic YouTube shorts, like the volume and variety game. But okay, great to get organic views and consumer insights and maybe even a viral hit every now and again. But also, how are we seeding Gemini and the LLM and other LLMs too that are like YouTube is a top citation source? Like, what's the half-life? There's a short-term and long-term effects.
Mm-hmm.
That you should be thinking about, or we try to think about. And that's where Gary's like really good about like killing 3, 4, 5 birds with one stone.
JMO, you talked about, you guys are always trying to boil things down to incremental revenue. So you talked about geo-lift studies, you talked about feeding MMMs. You also talked about having objectives other than revenue so that you could do brand lift studies, both intra-channel between strategies and using something like Newstar for the full brand lift across maybe some larger set of marketing channels. I'm curious what the workflow looks like. How are you guys ingesting all that information, actually making decisions as to how to allocate budgets across channels?
Yeah. Great question. This is where like the causal MMM stuff and like what House is now flirting with and Northbeam is trying to as well gets interesting. That's really the goal and value of those things. It's like the MMM that does typical, multivariate regression, econometric stuff, but then is also ingesting all these data points around incrementality, sales lift, brand lift, and then spitting out like the all up, hey, this channel, that channel. And often there will be some partner in the mix that is involved with that. There has to be systems we have like a master learning library of like, on this isn't in CPG, this is for another vertical, but like the 1,300 brand lift reads across sources, Meta, TikTok, Snap, Kantar, like, and all the questions, what the cells we're testing, everything from consideration awareness, brand favorability, association, purchase intent, and that is fed in along with the omnichannel retailer sales data. So we do our diligence in terms of trafficking, taxonomy, organization, usually being piped to some central source, like analytic partners is like a like advanced MMM kind of enterprise level provider that comes up often. Often we'll onboard new clients and they have some level of partner mix that we're inheriting versus when it's like net new blue ocean.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like, it's just this pretty equation that you're just taking all of this in and then trying to weight and balance all the things, including promos, exogenous variables like weather, seasonality, like competitive shelf trends, distribution changes in distribution. So even all that incrementality focused data helps to calibrate and get to more of a causal MMM, but it's can be a blizzard of variables. So it's something, frankly, like pretty much all large brands still wrestle with. And it's like in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. It's like everyone knows that this is far from perfect.
Totally.
But you have to get to something that, again, importantly, is lowest, can sit across all the mix. Like, man, oh man, is it more clean when it's like we do Meta, Google, TikTok, Amazon, baby. Like, that can just be a lot more precise versus 120 plus channels, including loads of out-of-home and terrestrial radio and, yeah.
The thing is, I used to think, and maybe this is like us getting more sophisticated and matured and doing a lot more incrementality and some brand stuff. But I used to think like, all right, all these big brands, like they have no idea what they're doing. They're just like, you're just given a budget and you're just like chasing CPMs. And I think that can certainly be true too. I'm sure it still happens by like, but obviously like Vayner is much more on the cutting edge. It's much more similar to what like D2C brands are doing and much more data driven than, I originally thought. Yeah.
And honestly, what I'm talking about is like what good looks like and what like is where few have moved, more are moving. But yeah, it's still an epidemic on the like reach and frequency, CPM, lowest, like in the ROI equation of effectiveness over efficiency in MMM, like efficiency is the much more concrete one, and unfortunately also the much more gameable one. And so, yeah, it's tough because on the one hand, when an MM comes back and says like, hey, this is how programmatic display and like cheap banner ads persist in a lot of cases, because a lot of these 3P MMMs, like from a Nielsen, might be like, hey, the effectiveness is on this, but it's so damn cheap. And it's just trying to weight all the variables accordingly. Like often CMOs, ourselves, you have to just make the common sense call. Like Gary talks about this all the time, just being like, we are a common sense AOR of like what the math says versus just like what common sense and intuition and just reverse engineering from the consumer says. And that's the X factor in a lot of this, because a lot of these reads, and you guys all see it too, where like you might get a great brand lift read back and you're like, I don't buy, like, I'm not seeing anything that suggests that like this actually was meaningful. Like common sense is undervalued in a lot of these things. And it's the people who are too dogmatic about the one source of truth and the variables that go into it that end up with, kind of like out of whack behavior. And then there's also among the holdco agencies, there are misaligned incentives. I don't want to even get into that. But the margin associated with various media buys not being equal. Yeah. And the last thing I'd say on that point is the reach and frequency thing, and why like total household pen, like why so many big brands care about boiling the ocean to get at like the total US households unduplicated that they're reaching with media across Disney, Hulu, Roku, Peacock. Like when you are Oreo and your target's people with mouths, like you have to be hitting a certain number of in your funnel. Like you have to be hitting all households, like, and getting that view, and then go down from there. But like where that can get tough is when you get to audience unduplication for the sake of it, or measurement for the sake of it, and then it's like you lose some of the pragmatism. Is like what gets tough about it. But I get it. Like you can't, a lookalike audience of a few million buyers is just like the math of their business. Like that won't get the job done. It's an unenviable task. And they do it, the best big brands do it as well as it can be done. It's so interesting about like, will this symbiotic, the challenger brands are the figure out what the consumer wants, scale it, and then like the end game sustainably is get acquired by the big CPG machines and then they plug it into the system? Or will there be more of a pendulum swing into welcome to the club, good luck competing in this much more, hairy, like gray versus black and white area? Right. Like I don't know the answer to that. Like Mondelez has acquired Tate's, Cliff, and like it seems to be a win-win. But you look at like Unilever and like Dollar Shave Club. It's like,
Oh, absolutely. Do you think there are any D2C brands that have crossed the chasm from upstart, DR oriented to thinking about household penetration? Because not many come to mind without being acquired.
Yeah, I think all of the ones that have been acquired, but it's about like at what point were they? And I do think, I don't know this for sure, but like I do think like Manscaped. No, they're still private. They haven't been acquired, right?
They have not been acquired.
Like I feel like Manscaped is probably knocking on this door, still not acquired. Of like I see them at retail, like that they're in it, and like I'm sure they can be more disruptive, in terms of like setting the new norm there. Dr. Squatch was just acquired, but I think they were pretty far along.
They got really, really far.
Yeah.
What about like Hims and Hers?
Oh, Hims is a great one.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be curious to see what like the media mix of Hims and Hers is like. I feel like they've like taken that Airbnb approach and really swung into like doing a lot of brand marketing into like video based performance channels like linear, CTV, YouTube. But like I would bet they're spending more on those three channels than they are in like Meta and Google at this point.
Yeah.
One thing that keeps me up at night, Hims has a 0.2 AMER. So for every 20 cents they get from new customers, they spend $1. Isn't that crazy?
Their LTV profile must be banging. Don't tell Matt from Grunes that. He's not going to like that.
The LTV on a Hims customer is just absolutely unreal, I'm sure. And it just they're playing a super long game. And they are thinking, they're a fantastic example, Connor, because they are thinking, how do we get in front of every single, they have Hims and Hers, but for a while it was every single millennial male so that we are their solution for the next 10, 15 years. And it's like,
yes.
Whenever I need anything, I'm like, oh yeah, finasteride. I'm like, I'm only going to go to Hims. And that's because they spent $1 billion on Facebook 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's like anyone that can play that long game with discipline versus getting caught in these short-term ROI traps. Yeah. That's where you guys in your world like are really very impressive to me. And like, I think that like head of tail brands have more to learn on that, on like the LTV game and like the sophistication. And like, again, not through the tracking of it back into, it's like the Amazon thing. You like land grab a huge swath at like, loss lead. And then like, you then have like encircled this and then you watch the money pile up from there. Totally.
Yeah. You said with discipline, that's the key operator there. There's a lot of people who've messed that up.
Yeah. If you are running or operating a DTC brand, the next few months, BFCM and the holidays are your Super Bowl. The question is, are you doing everything you can to maximize average order value on every single purchase? Aftersell by Rocked makes sure you are. Aftersell is the leading post-purchase optimization suite trusted by over 50,000 e-commerce brands. With one-click upsells, cart and checkout optimizations, and Rocked Thanks monetization, Aftersell helps you get the most out of every transaction without adding friction. Brands like Jones Road, Ridge Wallet, Hexclad, and Shoe Classic love it, and here's why. The data tells the story. One-click post-purchase upsell that convert up to 16% of buyers instantly. Smart checkout and cart offers that feel natural, not pushy, driving up to 30% higher AOV. And Rocked Thanks, which turns your thank you page into a profit center with premium partner offers from brands like Disney Plus and HelloFresh. Hexclad's been using Aftersell for a really long time. I love Aftersell. First off, there's no friction with Aftersell. It's all happening post-purchase, so it plugs in really, really well with your existing funnels that your team is spending hours building and optimizing. And it truly is just incremental revenue on top of orders you're already going to get. Naturally, a subset of people that have already made a purchase for you are going to see this Aftersell push. There's going to be an offer that they really like, and they're going to add that product on with one click. There is literally hundreds of thousands of dollars of incremental revenue happening on Hexclad every single month simply through this post-purchase Aftersell up and cross-sell. And it is very easy to set up. You don't need any custom design, no custom HTML. It plugs in really nicely to your post-purchase page, and it's just incremental revenue on top of all the conversions that you're already driving. So it's really a no-brainer to set up. It's crushing for Hexclad. On average, brands using Aftersell see a 30% lift in AOV and $20,000 to $30,000 in pure profit per 100,000 orders from Rocked Thanks alone. Don't just sell more, make more from what you're already selling. Head to aftersell.com/operators to activate Rocked Thanks and get the full Aftersell suite free exclusively for Marketing Operators listeners.
All right, I want to chat creative.
I'm very curious your take, and obviously with this being, a lot of upper funnel stuff, and we're talking creative all the time because obviously the platforms have completely shifted there. But like, what is your approach to creative? Let's start with, I definitely want to to have you touch on brand formants and explain that because I've talked to Gary about that. But what is your take on creative today? There's a big debate about volume versus, quality or diversity. How do you guys approach creative like today, or what's needed going forward for social?
Yeah. Oh man.
Loaded question.
I wish. I think Gary's in his office right now. He'd come in and just like Kool-Aid man crash into this and talk about.
Please do.
I mean, Gary sees around corners so well. I've learned this about him. Where like I've been at Vayner for 10 years, and him having said many bold things that like, of course, our clients or new business prospects were just like, okay. Platforms were certainly like, okay, eye roll, and myself would be like, gee, that's a hot take. Like I think that's a little overblown. And then it's played out. So we had the Vayner volume model in like 2018. And this was the peak of when Meta was like 2 to 3 assets per ad set. Like, don't touch them and like say one thing beautifully. And now, especially for lower funnel, not the world of brand and consideration as much, but they are fully leaned into creative as a new targeting, volume and variation. I think the folks have gotten better at this, but the volume trap initially was like volume and this gets into like the Andromeda debate happening that I think Cody, you and I have laughed about, of just like, DTC Twitter, but like volume of like extremely similar things with little things tweaked, like I consider that side dishes and little window dressing. Like, sure, like this headline, body copy, CTA button here, but like that's not volume. That's like, hey, Meta, go have fun with that and A+. But like the volume and the like, if you think about, I'll go on a side quest real quick to explain the point. TikTok a few years ago did a great, when they were under a lot of pressure, like the last time it was like, divest, they did a like transparency day and like, we're like, hey, we're going to show you much more of a look into how our FYP algorithm works. Of course, not like the special sauce, but more. And the way they explained it was, and this was like 2020, new user signs up, they have no history on. The first, they would do batches of like 6 or 8 videos populated, and then like the next would then be like amended. The first 6 to 8 would be the most viral, popular 6 to 8 videos over the last whatever period, that nodes wise, in terms of like the graph of all of the videos on the platform, were the furthest apart in distance. So like it was like the 6 most viral scaled videos that were most far apart to one another in style, content, like, and then based on the user response, it would then be like, oh, we're going to shape shift over to this area. And then you get into like, more and more. And then they were talking about how like our bigger problem is not the personalization of giving you the next thing you'd want, but introducing randomness and surprises in, so that you're not just seeing like, and Reels had this issue early on where it's just like, oh, you like rock climbing videos of this guy? Here's like that guy rock climbing 20 in a row. And to bring the analogy back to the creative point, it's like, you want to start with like, yes, of course, a volume, but kind of as far apart different looks as you can. Consumer way in, video static, long, like whatever that means. And then over time, the nature of the variation changes based on what you're seeing. And a lot of people were just like starting with this little area of variation on this one style. So the way Gary set it up in our creative department is like, it's flat. It's like it's like ECDs, executive creative directors, and like creators that like make stuff. And it is very much we have this audience cohorts of like, in our strategy team of all of these very specific segment personas, like not when you think marketing personas, like Back to the Future DeLorean fans, like in New York City who like, you know, skateboard and use like 3-to-1 shampoo, conditioner, body wash as like a cohort for some like that specific, and creators making content for all of those cohorts that ladder up to like the business targets, and then ebbing and flowing from there. But we're always balancing like what we make, the UGC style creator stuff we make versus like the high polish, like we make Super Bowl spots, that too, the brand produced assets, we remixing those, but it's like the volume is the easier part, but not all volumes created equal. It's like that diversity that's still on strategy, and like where you can also get losses when it's like I'll ask a creator like, why did you make this jump on this meme trend for, you know, this like very serious financial institution that's going after like wealth advisors? Like, you know, everything has to be rooted in strategy in the business, which also gets hard when you're like pushing on new different styles of creative, you know, UGC forward. But it's that volume X diversification piece that it's far from perfect. That's a long answer to a much more straightforward
volume
question.
of diverse assets.
Volume of diverse assets that are rooted in a business case and or the consumer.
So do you think, if you were like, for a brand listening to this and saying like, okay, we have a problem with creative diversity, we're doing what you described earlier, which is volume around just one idea.
Yeah.
And operationalizing, how do we get to creative diversity? Do you think it goes back to like creating those, I think you described them as cohorts, the DeLorean liking New York skater, and a brand should like figure out a handful of those and then create for those people, and hopefully that results in diversity?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with organic, that's a lot of what we do, because, you know, in organic, the like creative finds its target that may or may not be who you had in mind. Mm-hmm. And there's this paradox of like, the more you kind of go vanilla, trying to talk to everyone,
totally,
that never works. When you go shockingly niche and narrow, that like can be the thing that unlocks the most virality. So you have these personas like much more for organic than paid. I've lived through just like the terror of like, hey, JMO and team, we want to target these 86 cohorts in our meta conversion campaigns. And it's like, no, those are like creative personas, not literal targets. So then it goes, Cody, I know you want to talk brand performance. It starts again to brand performance. Organic to us is the best signal of like, you have consumer attention, you found something relevant out of anything the platform could serve, it decided to serve your brand's thing. For big brands, organic not couched in that lens is just never interesting, because they're you know, fanatics. They run such an enormous amount of DR spend. They can have a lot of organic hits of showing their athlete jerseys, hats during big games, and it like still they can't even see the signal through the noise. But these personas and organic validation of like, oh, that got outsized, you know, hey, 1 a day vitamins, this got 40,000 views. You try to look at the insights breakdown of the demo, geo, the commentary to get at the qual. And then that is like a version for us of like what Creative X or Ipsos or ACE or all these expensive creative pre-testing tools and focus group tools are evolved. So we have these personas that inform the creative inspo that's really like into the organic gauntlet of attention, that then can make their way into ad campaigns and often can get upscaled, polished up in the process. But then we also have this always on DR engine of like catalog ads, you know, partner ads with TikTok creator affiliates. Like, you know, there's layers to this game.
Are you like running the same? So you're saying you're letting the organic performance, like, and you're creating certain content for a very specific persona organically, launching in that, letting that perform, and then are you taking that exact creative, running it in paid? Or are you saying, hey, like this creative persona out of these other 10 has really popped off relative to the other ones. Let's go create 10 more new swings, but this time for paid ads, but still targeting that persona. Is that the approach and like the process?
So we we try not to have it bleed into a like targeting conversation. It's more because again, all these brands are ultimately trying to. The whole thing with these personas is it's like, okay, cool, we reached that persona. That's 1% of our audience.
Yeah.
Like how replicable is this? So it's like persona is the inspo, but is there do we find that broader like insight with consumer insight with a capital C and I that all big brands are still rooted in? And so, the more organic distro, the better, of course. But we then try to have it be a means to an end into what gets into scaled. Brandformance is easy, where you get things into the organic ether. You try to impart, you try to show the product, you try to have it have some tie to the business, so that like it actually will sell things in DR. But brandformance for us is organic validation of the net new kind of stuff, the curveballs, the alpha, to then throw into your already, pretty humming, pretty scaled and diverse, conversion mix. The tougher thing is for this upper mid funnel stuff where you don't have that heat seeking conversion missile guidance. But you want to make sure that the volume you're rotating in is validated in some way. Because when you're buying on reach, Meta's algo is not, you can't rely on it to perfectly serve the right thing. So organic into conversion, again, that's more for a new era or a Yeti than for say a CPG, but into upper mid funnel territory where it often is the literal asset. Often it'll be kind of remixed or kind of shoehorned into paid. So for DR, it's like you get a call to action. You make sure that it's like buy the thing, which might not be in the organic piece.
All right, I have the pleasure of telling you about our sponsor, Rivo, which is a retention platform for Shopify Plus brands. They cover everything from accounts to loyalty, referrals, memberships, store credit, wallet passes, and more. Ridge is a loyal user, as well as Hexclad, Dr. Squatch, True Classic, Portland Leather Goods, Kitsch, LSKD, Princess Polly, Pit Viper, Graza, and hundreds more brands. There's some really big brands relying on Rivo to power their retention platform every single day. I am a firm believer in signed-in shopping. One of our strategies to generating more lifetime value is to simply make it a better experience to be a customer of Ridge.com, and Rivo plays a key role in that. Stuart, the founder there, one of my favorite people to work with. The platform's fantastic. They're fully bootstrapped. They are shipping features extremely fast with very cool agentic workflows. And lucky for you, they just launched Rivo editions with over 30 plus updates, including unified store credit and Rivo discount functions that give you more flexibility over how you're giving credit balances and discounts to all of your customers. And my favorite update of all, they are launching wallet passes. So you'll be able to get your customers downloading wallet passes and sending them messages via push notifications. It is totally free for all Shopify Plus stores. Go to revo.io today to check it out.
Some CPG and other like luxury types, like more so may use it as like, let's double down and then let's use this insight and make something more polished. Our whole thing is always like throw in both, and like, it'll surprise you, what you think versus what goes down. And we bring our clients into it. So it's like ideas and making is kind of what we preach. So clients of ours will be like, I've always, now that we're talking cohorts, like I have a hypothesis that like this, like Gen Alpha, like this thing matters. And it's like, cool, we'll make it and put it out there and see. So it's like everyone's ideas. And it can go like, if Gary had his way, it would ladder all the way up into the stuff that makes its way into your cross paid social full funnel stuff. But even like what it is the kernel of the idea that becomes your Super Bowl spot, where like our Planters Super Bowl spot, a few years back, we killed Mr. Peanut. So that one was a popular one back in the day. But we did for March Madness, and it wasn't Super Bowl, it was March Madness. We did the Snack It Bracket Challenge, where like as Planters, we put out like, you've seen these, like the bracket, but it's snacks head to head. And then like people fill it out and then like you vote, and then it's like the snacks progress. And that just went so crazy on social that we ended up doing a March Madness TV buy, like rooted in that idea. So like, can this form the kernel of like what you do in those, one to many? You can't volume model the Super Bowl yet.
That's interesting. So you're not only creating paid social ads based on what's working organically, but you're actually creating linear TV campaigns, which can be, millions of dollars and months of production. That's very cool.
And if you look at what Roku Ads Manager, Universal Ads, they're being like, just give us your top social stuff, vertical. Like we'll help add, make it 16:9 and put it in. And that's a big thing too. And I think a lot of like True Classic with Roku Ads Manager, I know is an early partner, like doing a lot of that. We're into that as well. But Super Bowl or like upfront type TV buys, I get why clients want to,
I will say I'm bought in. Like Gary kind of shared this a few months back, and like I know he's that we haven't acted on it yet, but I promise we're going to. You can let him know. But I will say what was our top TV spot for a while. It was an organic social TikTok post from Bobby. Went pretty viral. Just ran it as Spark ad from there. Crushed that. Ported that over to Meta. Ran that. Scaled that. Then we shot. We shot with Vidigrow, who's a production agency, paid social assets behind that. It was essentially a founder story, but different, spin on a founder story for Miracle Bomb. Is probably our top scaling ad ever, where we probably have $10 million to spend behind like variants from that.
That's it.
And then we turned that into TV production, and shot it for that. So I would say of that initial concept, we probably have like 30 million of spend across that concept. Obviously, many different variations of it. So I've seen it work once, but I think like
yes,
I'm totally bought in. I think it makes sense. I think one of my, this is predictions and stuff we were talking about last episode is like the organic and paid social. First of all, it's so different. I think most teams are stuck. And like you said, Gary's always early, but Gary talks a lot about like followers don't matter. I think a lot of brands are still creating organic content for followers.
Yes.
And I see all these, and I've seen some people that are doing this for their brands and clients where it's like 7,000 followers on like I don't know what you call it, like when you have like multiple social accounts and like the main one might have 1 million followers and that's like the branded stuff. But like there's a few other ones that like kind of look affiliated, kind of don't, like you can't tell. And all have like 7,000 followers, but like you look at some of the content and it's just like 1 million views, 2 million views,
Yes.
And then obviously how that then makes it over, because it's obviously the same. It's a very similar delivery engine behind both of them. That's very, it's using engagement signals, right? So like I'm totally bought in, and I think more brands need to start getting there and talking about it. But we're working on it.
But and it's awesome. I mean, that's even that example is like phenomenal, and it's like. It's not that this is the only way. It's like there's a whole lot you can do foundation setting, especially in lower funnel and like the DTC kind of like playbook. And then, but as you scale and as you're tapping out and you need to like, truly do demand creation more and more, this becomes a more and more important thing to find like those ways in. Gary did an experiment to really prove his point of he has 15 million followers on TikTok. He spun up some like Gary V replies TikTok account that had 0 followers. He had his team post handful on both. He had one on the like 200 follower new handle he made get like 3 million views on the same thing that like, or a similar thing that his 15 million account. And he's used that with brands in the room before. And I get it. Some platforms like hitting your followers is still more of a thing, but on all the places that, matter.
I'm curious. I feel like there's an interesting trend right now, what you just described. Like, how are you creating content that succeeds organically and then letting that feed your ad creative for middle and top of funnel, sort of funnel building? I think we see a lot of that naturally with like the brand succeeding with TikTok affiliates right now. And they do it in an almost decentralized way where it's like, I'm going to send out hundreds of product. I'm going to have random people post videos all the time. They all have these small incentives. And then every once in a while, to your point, they're going to find the right message or the right concept that just pops off. And then it's like, and then to Cody's point, you could feed that. So just making the distinction between like brands having to create that organic content and then versus seeding product and letting like more of a larger community create content.
Yeah, totally. And there's roles for both, and like it's more scalable to be the maestro conducting the orchestra than being like the violin player.
Totally.
In terms of like what a brand can do. I mean the world of TikTok Shop and affiliates and premium price point brands that have a brand canvas and what they view as that's been a challenge for us, frankly, where Gary's term for this is like mystery box of like, you have in your mind who you think your customers are or the prospects or ways in, but like you can put something out there and some group is all about it that you like hadn't planned for, or your content might have been for this skater Gen Z Redditor that then like actually pops with like old ladies. Like you never know. TikTok Shop affiliate really puts a finer point on that of when you see, okay, who, requests a free sample, gets it, who's responding to your stuff, who's putting stuff out there, who's selling stuff. It can be very eye-opening as to like both opportunities, but also things to solve for. If you're like, man, no one 18 to 34 is involved here. And often when you're a brand with everyone rightfully has a preciousness about when they're on the brand side of the brand image. It can be a challenge with TikTok Shop when you really, because the name of the game is just like scale like crazy. And it's sort of like they all are like, can this be more like Shop My, like curated market? But I get both.
What about I think you mentioned something about this. You want to chat about like TikTok Shop for luxury brands. Like we are not on TikTok Shop. I think I am becoming more open to it. I still don't love necessarily like the fee and the structure, but obviously I can see that it can drive so much top of funnel awareness, lift to other channels, plus this content engine. But I think the thing is like I'm past that. I'm over that. I can take the fee. We can validate halo demand and just consider a reach channel. I don't know that we would succeed on TikTok Shop because we're slightly higher price point and we don't run discounts. And I just feel like from what I've seen on TikTok Shop, it seems like you have to play that. And so much of what I see are very strong offers.
Yes. That's been the rub of if you are playing in the low cost, fastest fashion, trend driven game. And again, it's like all this is exported from Asia and like China, and we're like live shop, and this whole thing is like, monstrously big. I couldn't even tell you the names of the brands or the TikTok Shop of the couple random things I've bought from them over the years, like Tim Robinson ornaments. Like it is a sales channel full stop, at least how it's kind of done currently, and affiliates. And something we've pushed TikTok on, and I'm sure there are examples of folks doing this right, is show me a higher price point brand that didn't have to like sacrifice that like was able to without promoting the out of things or doing like enormous affiliate commission disc and was able to actually do it. And there's very few. And then there's also Amazon has the same challenge. It's like if you're Apple trying to sell $600 AirPod Pro Max, and there's literal carbon copy dupe knockoff versions all over the place that are literally $9.27. It's a bit of a problem. So brands are definitely waking up to it, and it makes more sense for more vertical price points, et cetera. But it's tricky. I understand why, Cody, you are where you are.
Black Friday, you're about to crush it. The real job is keeping that momentum going past Black Friday, past holiday, and all the way into next year. Prescient helps brands turn peak season wins into predictable, profitable velocity. Powered by a suite of proprietary machine learning models and a causality-first validation layer, Prescient reveals what actually drove lift. It combines surveys, it combines multi-touch attribution and incrementality, and then it forecasts where your next dollar of media will drive real incremental profit. Top brands like Coterie, Guess, Hexclad, Jones Road Beauty, Mary Roos, and many more are using Prescient to quantify halo effects across Shopify, Amazon, retail, so their teams know exactly where to reinvest. So what actual questions can Prescient help you answer? Let's dig into it a little bit. Question number 1, do I need to increase, decrease, or reallocate spend for the shopping season? Prescient shows the optimal media mix to drive the strongest Q4 performance, whether your budget grows or shrinks. Question number 2, where should I put additional Q4 budget? Prescient delivers recommendations based on current BFCM dynamics, your vertical, and your optimal ad spend allocation. Question number 3, can Prescient measure cross-channel effects, especially between Shopify and Amazon? Yes, Prescient uniquely tracks halo effects and ad impact across both platforms, revealing where to dial back and where to double down. This is actually one of the very first problems that HexCloud onboarded with Prescient to solve, is understanding the total impact across both .com and Amazon over ad spend. Prescient's models are benchmarked against $6 billion in ad spend, so the recommendations you are getting aren't just theory. They've actually been tested against billions of real media dollars. And if you're ready to see where your next dollar of media will drive the most profit, visit PrescientAI.com/operators to forecast your growth with Prescient.
One thing we're talking about, and maybe you've worked with clients who have done this, but almost like a product assortment strategy specific to TikTok shops, where we say, hey, we're not going to take the same wallets that we sell in Shields and Best Buy and Verizon and mark those down 50% on TikTok shops, but like maybe there's some sort of complementary product that makes sense coming from Ridge that has an offer that can work on TikTok shop, grow brand awareness that way, and that will like trickle down to some of our hero products.
Yes. I think that makes a lot of sense. That's like a good happy medium. TikTok, we'll mention that like when TSP folks are in the room. And even like merch and like side quest things that build a broader brand halo, but you benefit from like, I've seen you do a shop tag post versus that same post not shop tagged. Like there's always this, how these platforms, do they put their thumb on the scale to incentivize certain things that you kind of want to like exploit to your benefit without downside.
Have you seen any brands do like, this is something we're starting to do because we have a high price point. We're on TikTok Shop. We are actively engaging with TikTok Shop affiliates and we're getting good volume, like really good reach. Sales are growing, but it's still like a tiny drop in the bucket relative to our main distribution channels, probably because of our price point. But we're trying to get TikTok Shop specifically set up with Prescient, which is one of our MMM tools, to see like, can they measure a halo into other channels? I have to imagine there has to be a longer tail than just that moment trying to sell that product in TikTok Shop. And I still think it's net a good play for us, purely based on the impression and CPM arbitrage that we're getting. And I'm guessing it halos in other channels. I'm hoping we can get it integrated with Prescient and measure it a little bit more. But do you recommend brands do that even if they're not seeing a ton of sales, if like the impressions are there and the content's good?
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're not seeing a ton of sales, then it's like, let's get creative about how we can see how this is working. Otherwise, So I love that point, Connor.
And anecdotally, like I've bought a few things from Shop, but usually my first thing is like, all right, I want this little $10 widget. Let me go to Amazon and see what they have.
Yeah. So we have done this exact exercise for a couple clients. One that sells like consumer tech, like household product sorts of things, and 100%. We were looking at like the total impression volume from all of the affiliate creator posts, and both on D2C but Amazon, TikTok and Amazon have this like weird kindred spiritness of like when we see TikTok halo onto something non-TikTok shop, Amazon is like uniquely strong for whatever reason, and there's a really high correlation between that affiliate volume, putting the sales aside, and D2C. And it was a pretty controlled environment at the time in terms of variables constant and Amazon. So I think your inkling is totally right that there can be a there. And if you can see that, use every part of the animal sort of picture of it, it can make more sense. And these poor creators like grinding it out. The effective CPM you can back into versus like the commissions you pay can be, pretty damn efficient. Amazon is they're such a beast. And what they're doing right now with like Amazon DSP and like taking rates to zero to just like body the trade desk into, Pluto is crazy. I'm curious what you guys think about the fledgling buy with Prime integration on TikTok. I set it up the other day. I got an ad on TikTok that was like, link your Prime account. And then on the merchant side, you can set up fulfillment through Amazon and like link it through Seller Center. And if that's coming up at all in your world, TikTok, I don't think rightfully is too interested in it because for them, it's like, they would prefer them directly.
Right.
But for some brands that are like, especially larger brands with more red tape, going that route via Amazon on the Seller Center linkage side.
I have a couple thoughts here. One, I think it's fascinating how Amazon's going to try to like productize fulfillment and then port it over to other places.
Yeah.
So they had a Snap in integration with Snapchat years ago where you could buy stuff with Prime right on Snapchat. They have that on TikTok now, but they also have you seen the buy with Prime on Shopify sites where like they've been trying to get us to add a second add to cart button. It's like you have add to cart on ridge.com and you have add to cart and you're building an Amazon cart and then you're checking out with your Prime account.
Yeah. I know, it's wild. And also Meta had a buy with Prime initiative, but that kind of stalled out.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think there's like, my take is, at least initially, there's more friction. Like, I almost think it would be more valuable for us, and we've done this at different times in the past too, where it's like, hey, if for some reason we think someone will want to buy on Prime, we actually just want to send them to Amazon. That's the shopping behavior that they're like extremely familiar with. I can go, deep links to the Amazon app, I'll check out like I do every single day. Whereas buy with Prime, it's like, it's actually just confusing. And that's what we found when we tested it a couple years ago. So they're going to have to cross this chasm of consumers learning how to buy with Prime off of platform. But then at that point, it's probably really valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious what you guys think too about like how this goes into like 2026 predictions, maybe. Meta, how Meta has been so out of the game on the creator economy for one, and just like keeping creators happy. I think they're not out of the game by any means, creator marketplace, and it's huge, but like relative to YouTube, from like the programs, the monetization, the income, and then TikTok, like, Meta sunsetting checkout and shops being like a secondary priority. I'm curious, like I've been through enough Facebook Meta cycles that like Zuck knows what he's doing. Like, they're not running around with their heads cut off being like, are you aware if TikTok shop is really scaling? Like, they're being very intentional about what they do, but it's been surprising to me.
I know exactly what it is. It's the innovator's dilemma. It's the same reason that Google is slow to incorporate, Gemini into their main search interface.
Yeah.
Is they're getting their lunch eaten on the in-app shop checkout creator, thing, but they can't give up their main business. And I think from my assumption is that test to, with checkout and stuff like that, like they're always trying to monetize their real estate as well as possible. And I think they probably sacrificed their ad business to get there. And I think that was probably a trade-off they determined wasn't worth it, at least in the near term. But I suspect they will roll out other tools, if maybe it's not an in-app checkout, but to do better with creator economy.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, that's, I think, because TikTok Shop has been like an extremely unprofitable line of business for TikTok, right? Like, I don't think it's necessarily been beneficial to their ad platform. And then they've subsidized so much trying to drive shopping behavior there. And I just don't think, to Cody's point, Meta would have to give up other parts of the business if they wanted to commit to growing on platform shopping. And they're just not willing to do that, because I think to some degree it's at odds. Like, we're all describing this weird attribution break between having things on TikTok shops driving impressions and it getting captured on Amazon or on Shopify. And it's like, Meta won't benefit from that. You'll spend less ads if they're not able to report on a higher ROAS. Whereas TikTok shop has just been going like scorched earth, trying to acquire both attention and just brute forcing their way to like a normal shopping behavior.
Yeah. I mean, I know TikTok shop, I know for ByteDance globally is a profit. It's a beast. It's the US. That's, I think, been the challenging part from a revenue standpoint.
Sure. Yeah, I do. I let's call it a 2026 prediction. I do think Meta will make some plays here. I don't think they'll necessarily go back to in-app checkout, but I do think they do seem very bullish on creator economy and, obviously a huge push on partnership ads and stuff like that. But so I could see them kind of doing some stuff and trying to improve there. Because I agree. They're behind. Obviously YouTube monetizes the best by far.
I'm excited for the YouTube dynamic insertion into like the product demos. You see that?
Yeah. That'll be interesting.
No, what's that? What's one last
thing? They just announced it. It's like YouTube dynamic brand
where
segments.
they can like, you can put like ads and old videos and like.
Yeah. It's I feel like we're in a Zoom right now, but I know we're not, but I would post a link. It's basically like creator is doing a in-show product demonstration, and it's like what Amazon announced with virtual product placement a few years back. It's like you can make that in-show segment like Jones Road Beauty. It's like a biddable, like flippable.
Right.
Okay.
And it's like,
Interesting.
I'm sure to start, it's going to be much more simple than that.
So it's making
But-
like YouTube ad reads a little bit more programmatic.
Yes. It's like making like product placement and host live reads, like that whole territory, biddable programmatic, photorealistic with AI. I mean, Amazon's virtual product placement was like, hey, in Reacher, he can be driving down the highway and like you can biddable Amazon DSP on the billboard for it to be yours, sort of thing. That whole territory, I love. I love product placement.
Yeah, I think it'll be like my understanding of it. We heard about it from Marquez because Google had reached out to him about like piloting it. But there's pros and cons, right? We get a bunch of native integrations right now, and those things will live on far past and generate the views far more than we like initially agreed upon. And some of that works in both directions sometimes. So there are downsides to it there where he could, in theory, like, turn off our ad because we've hit the $10 CPM that we agreed to pay him. But then there's also the opportunity to potentially further monetize back catalog content that's still accruing thousands of views a day.
Exactly. Like there's a real, like the answer will always be like, it's some blend. It's like TV, upfront and scatter. But yeah, the back catalog thing.
Yeah.
Back catalogs are just like becoming another underrated for 2026 predictions, like back catalog for like YouTube and LLM citation and like for this remnant monetization. Like there's just a lot there. It's like good for brands that have been like doing the volume game for a while now.
100%.
All right. Well, I know we're over, JMO. We really appreciate your time, but I know we got to let you go. So thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome. Super excited to, super appreciated for you to come on and share your take on things and learned a lot. Where can people follow you? Where can people learn more from you?
TikTok is my one main. It's Johnny Mo with zeros as the O. So J0NNYM0.
You couldn't get the JMO?
No. I got it for Spotify. I love trying to sign up for services. I signed up for Robinhood years ago, really early, and I got John.
That's it.
I like take pride in those things.
It'd be worth a lot of money one day.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't even talked about handle flipping.
That's episode
We
2.
should do a whole episode on it.
Yeah.
But JMO, thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Have a good one.
All right, that was a fun one. Head of investment at VaynerMedia, JMO. That was awesome having him on, hearing how big brands do it. We all have a lot to learn from them. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, that was episode 86. That was a fun one. As always, I want to thank our sponsors. We got Motion, Richpanel, Prescient AI, Aftersell, and Rivo. We couldn't do the show without you guys. And if you like this, please share it in your team Slack, share it on social, leave us a comment, give it a review, anything you can do. We listen to it all. We see all the comments. We love the feedback. Thank you guys for listening.